Hello,
Greetings.
hello. We are live again.
We are. I feel like we've been gone a long time. I
I
don't know.
don't know why. Like sometimes they feel like they happen like really quickly, and then other times it's like we haven't done this in forever.
Yeah, it's probably because of all the stuff we have crammed in between.
We have been cramming so much in between and so much more coming up. But I want to talk about last week. We hosted this networking event. And I once after COVID, yeah, I networked practically every night pre-COVID. And then
Mhm.
when COVID hit, I was like, thank God I don't have to go to another networking event.
Even
And
the little kids were happy. They were like, "Oh, I'm so glad we don't have to go to a board meeting, Mom."
so, but when you're an entrepreneur, like networking is a big part of marketing your business. And so it's this, we need to go back to networking. We need to go back to networking. But I don't like networking unless we network our way.
I was gonna say you don't like shallow networking, which
Right.
I don't think anyone does. It's just hard to
Exactly.
figure out like which is going to be the event that's going to have the people like yelling at you and shoveling business cards in your face, versus events like the ones we've been doing where people actually stop and talk and really try and get to know you.
Well, and I feel like, so this event that we had, I guess was that Thursday night? Not that it matters what night it was, but seeing the difference in how people connected and interacted, and it was almost like we just gave them permission to network differently and to be authentic and actually connect with the people that were there. Like people were laughing and people were crying and supporting each other, and it was just really beautiful to see. And
Yeah, I think it's the word networking that kind of gets you in that KPI algorithm, my numbers kind of mindset, right? Because we're all running businesses and I get it. I have to pay attention to my numbers too. Like, that you have to touch a certain amount of people, you have to get out there and just let people get to know you and things like that. But it's all in your intention, right? If you replace the word networking with heart-centered networking, right? Like one of the events that we have here at the studio, and maybe you say being in community, because that's really what it is, right? Go back in the day where everybody had a real specific talent that they would contribute to the town, and it would, yeah, technically it was quote unquote networking, but really you were just walking around town getting to know your fellow business owners, right? You made candles and I sold, matchsticks, right? Like, it wasn't called
we
networking.
definitely need to like work together.
I mean, it wasn't called networking, right? And I think calling it networking has kind of like stripped it a little bit of its humanity. I don't know. Maybe I've been to too many crazy networking events that leave me exhausted. Like I always want to leave fulfilled and happy and excited.
Yeah. Thursday was definitely one of those events.
Yeah.
So
I mean, just for people listening, the big difference was that we talked a lot about where your intentions, where you're coming from, to make sure to show up to these events, trying to figure out what you can do for someone else, right? Being a good listener, and most importantly, being your authentic self. That's really our big mantra here, is don't show up trying to be something you're not. Show up exactly as who you are, and you'll just feel so much more in flow and so happy and glad to be there, right?
it's so much easier when you're being authentic, so much less work, and you're going to make the connections that really have worth and value. If
Mm,
you're out there trying to be who you think you need to be successful in your business, the connections that you make aren't going to be authentic. You're going to have to work too hard, and eventually they're just going to fall apart anyway. So
yeah, yeah. Beautiful. No, it was a beautiful evening, and it was wonderful to see everybody really just be themselves. And honestly, it makes them more memorable, right? Like if you want the secret to networking and you want to make yourself memorable, be yourself. That sticks out way more than anyone, you know, who you can tell isn't really there, like if you're getting dressed and you're like, oh, I really don't want to go to this event. That's not the event for you to go to. It really isn't. Your body, your brain, everything's telling you what to do. Just listen.
Yep. All right. You ready to bring on our guest?
Sure.
Let's do it. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello.
Hello.
Lisa's
Did you hear that?
all the way from the other side of the ocean.
Yeah, but I'm in, at the moment, sunny Oxfordshire, which is a beautiful part of our country. And it's very mild weather. It's very beautiful.
I'm going to ask you, just to move a little bit to your right, I think. So you're centered on the screen there. And so I know who you are. Graciela knows a little bit who you are, but not that much. And our audience doesn't know who you are. So please introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what keeps you passionate about what you're doing.
Okay, so years ago, I started off as a personal trainer. Was absolutely fascinated by the body and people in general, and found that if somebody got injured or problems or diseases, I wanted to know why. I wanted to know more in depth. I wanted to be able to treat them and not send them off to other people to be fixed, and if I did have to send them off, I wanted to be there to hear what those experts said so I could learn. And so that led me down the route of numerous rehabilitation courses, gait analysis courses, postural assessments. That led to scar work, which leads to trauma, which leads to emotion, which leads to spiritual, which leads to your Reikis and your quantum touches and energy work. And so I'm never stopping learning. It's like, it seems that the more that you learn, the more you realize that you don't know. And so I'm just fascinated. I just, everyone that I can get my hands on, it's like I want to pull every strand of them out and see what makes them tick and what doesn't make them tick. What can I hear in the pauses, and what can I tease out and make them whole, make them explore themselves and be comfortable in themselves, that kind of thing. So yeah, my work, people passionate about all of that.
It's so cool. And also,
have I frozen?
No, you're kind of freezing a little bit, but we still hear you good. So that's what matters the most. But I love how you like oftentimes we start in the body and then we just keep weaving and finding out that we are so much more than our physical body. And unfortunately, our Western medical system pretty much keeps everything confined in the body. And unless you actually look at all those other components, the energetic, the spiritual, the emotional, all of that, you're never going to truly find healing. And so I love that you're looking at all of that. And now you do really look frozen. I don't know if she can hear us or not. Oh, and she's gone.
All right, she'll come back in. I totally agree. It's really interesting how the way she talks sounds a lot like how you talk in your own path, right? How you start in a certain pattern and one thing kind of just develops into the next and the next and the next. And all roads seem to lead to the same place. Welcome back, Lisa.
Thank you. Sorry about that. That's the benefit of living on a boat. It's not always brilliant.
You're brilliant. You're brilliant enough. We were just saying, it's funny how the path always seems to lead to the same destination, right? Like starting with the body and just going into the energy and going into the trauma and going into the life, because all of these things are so interconnected. Like everything is interconnected. That's so beautiful. It sounds like you've been at it for a little while.
Yeah, I'm 54 now, and I started as a trainer early 20s. But I was bodybuilding in my teens. I was, in the gym. I lived in the gym. I was a sprinter at school. So I've always been fit. I've always been into training. I'm passionate about how the body feels. I've ran diet groups for doctors' surgeries, classes, exercise classes, loads of different stuff. But it kind of feels, when I started out as a personal trainer, I used to see people that had been personal trainers and were now doing spiritual energy work, and I'd think, why do they want to move away from personal training? Because personal training is amazing. And then when you start going on this journey and you realize how everything's connected and how everything's tied in, it just seems a natural progression. And, I haven't lost the personal training aspect. I can still bring that in with my clients, along with nutrition, along with various other things. But it's now getting to the core of the person. Who are they inside? What are they hiding? What have they experienced to make them the person they are? And what are they not wanting to bring out? And does it need to come out? Are they willing for it to come out? And am I the person who can help them, or do I find someone else who can help them? I don't go from ego where I can fix everybody. It's not down to me. But yeah, if I can be a stepping stone in their journey somewhere, that's fantastic. I've done my job then.
Well, and the truth of the matter is, no matter what we do, I, as a healer, don't actually heal anybody. I'm just the guide. And sometimes I am the guide that's going to help them get there. And sometimes, I have to send them to other guides who can guide along the way. But as you mentioned your age and someone being around the same age as you, I'm curious your thoughts, experiences, feelings on, I've been telling people lately, like, I'm fully embracing the fact that I am technically in the crone stage of life. And while, wisdom and all of these things are so much more evolved, the physical body, I kind of feel like no matter what we do is going to change. And that's a little bit of a difficult piece to embrace. Like, historically, without a lot of work, my body's always been extremely strong and flexible, and it ain't working the same way it used to. And trying to figure out, like, how to be okay with that, how to embrace that, how to move forward with that. What thoughts do you have on this area as a
I totally
physical fitness realm?
I really struggled with going into the crone phase of my life. It corresponded with COVID and my gym having to close down with the lockdowns, and that brought on all my menopause symptoms and hot flushes, anxiety and everything. And I was doing martial arts at the time. So that all went online, which I hated doing anything online at the time because we just weren't used to it, were we? And so I couldn't get my head. I'm left-handed, and watching somebody on the screen and trying to copy them, I couldn't flip everything around. So I stopped the martial arts, and I trained once or twice in my gym, but it was empty and it was dead and there was no energy there. And it was so, destructive for me. And I hated it. And so the menopause, not training, gaining weight, hot flushes, everything that ties into it, I just really hated it. And I really, really struggled with it. But luckily, my husband, Des, was an acupuncturist, and he sorted out my hot flushes and anxiety and everything, and started training again once the gym opened. But then he got diagnosed with cancer, consequently died a year later. So during that time, I was hardly training. So I found it really hard. I've now gone back to martial arts, and God, it hurts. You know, it never hurt this much 3 or 4 years ago, but now it really hurts. But it also feels really good. It makes me feel younger. It reminds me of what I was capable of and what I can be capable of again. It's a longer journey now. You know, it's my body isn't bouncing back into shape as it used to. But I just think we have to do something. Maybe not martial arts, maybe not going out for a run, but to keep the body supple and flexible and keep that energy flowing, keep the endorphins flowing. It's so important, massively important. So even if it's just going to a Zumba class or dance class, or, you know, doing anything that feeds what you need energetically wise, that's going to feed in how you feel in yourself, in your
I think she froze again, but I'm just going to speak to, you know, I'm on this journey of returning to yoga after many years not being there. And that is something that I find, as opposed to focusing on the actual physicality, the postures, etc. in the yoga, I do find myself focusing more on the energetics of it. And not really comparing myself to what this pose is supposed to look like, but rather how do I feel in it and what can I shift in me to feel better in it. Yeah, I definitely think as we get into this phase, we have to look at physical things from a different perspective than what we did, you know, in our younger phase. Like, how great can I be and how much better than others can I be? But right now it is, you know, how can I be in me and aware of me and shifting me while I'm doing these physical things, as opposed to looking at it. It's more internal than external now.
Right. And I also want to say, you know, this conversation reminds me of the whole blue zones conversation, you know, where Dan Buettner went around the world and he found all the things that centenarians have in common, right? People living to 100. And one of the things of the many that keep coming up is physical movement. And not one of those people has a gym membership. Not one of those 100-year-old folks are out there, you know, doing CrossFit, right? Like, that's not it. It's natural movement. So, you know, one of the hurdles that I've had to overcome in my life is feeling like a complete loser because I didn't go to whatever class I was supposed to go to, or that I gave up a gym membership X amount of years ago or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, that I wasn't doing something structured, right? Because like when you're in school, you're like playing sports and you're part of a team, and then you grow up and then your kids are in sports and things like that, right? So like, you know, not giving myself credit for natural movement. I think that's, like, for me, my biggest lesson right now, honestly, watching those Okinawans that they're like 96 years old, 103 years old, and they're getting up and sitting down off the floor 30 times a day. Like, honestly, try it. Go ahead, any age. I don't care how old you are. Get up and sit down off the floor 30, 40, 50 times a day, and then call me and tell me that's not a workout. Like, it counts. Honestly, I started doing this rebounder, like this little mini trampoline thing, and I'm just like bouncing up and down on it. You know, it looks easy enough. And man, some days I'm like, man, it's like a little bit of effort there. Like, there's muscles that are like, what? Wait a minute. I was sleeping. What is this? What do I have to do now? So, you know, like, for me, I think it's an ADHD thing that I have this all or nothing mentality, right? Like, if I can't go to the gym and lift 100 pounds, I might as well just lay here like, oh, it's all terrible, you know? So I think giving yourself credit for things that are part of natural movement, right? Carrying your groceries in, like, do that 100 times. It still counts, you know, like picking up your kids off the floor. It still counts. But Lisa, I have a question for you. So I'm curious, with all your experience and as vast as it is, and this is not on our list, but I just feel like I need to ask you, what is the one thing that you know to be true? Like, with everything that you've done, and now that you have this grown up perspective of body, mind, soul, and how it all works together, I know there's so much of a mystery, but what's the one thing you know to be true?
Cool, blimey. That you've got to love what you do. You've got to, like you say, if you don't love the gym, you're not going to go to the gym. You can spend X amount on a gym membership month in, month out, but you're not going to go if you don't enjoy it. You've got to find what connects with you, what feeds your soul. I joined a local gym here a few months ago, and I went 3 times. And I used to love the gym, but I realized it's not for me anymore. It just doesn't feel right. But my martial arts, now I'm back into my martial arts. It's that movement, it's that flexibility, it's the stretching, it's that bringing that into normal life. Like you say, getting up and down off the floor. My martial arts helps me do that. So it's finding that something that you really, really love. I love to dance. So, in the evening, I'll put music on and I'll be dancing around my boat like a loony. I love to walk. So, get me outside walking. But you've got to love it. You've really got to love it. And if you've got a passion, if I always say that the most boring hobby to me, it would be sewing or knitting. It's not my thing, but I understand why people do it. And if someone's passionate about knitting and they talk to me about knitting and they're passionate about it, by the time they finish talking, I want them to teach me to knit because they've exuded that passion, and it's raised my vibration. I've gone, I could actually really enjoy this, So yeah, it's got to connect with you. It's got to be heartfelt.
I'm like, Lisa, you just brought in my mom and my grandmother. So growing up, my grandmother, she sewed, and, especially when I was young, almost all of my clothes she made. And, when I got old enough, we'd have trips to the fabric store together and picking out the patterns and the fabrics and creating. And then my mom was the knitter. I have like I don't even know how she would do it. She'd be knitting 100 miles an hour, like not even watching what she was doing. And she would just create this amazing sweater or Afghan or, whatever from it. And, I've been taught by both of them how to do these things, but definitely they had passion for it. Like in my younger days, I liked doing it because I loved them so much. I wanted to be like them, but I can definitely tell you, I did not have the passion for these things that these women had. No. But it just cracked me up when you chose sewing and knitting. I'm like, well, there's my mom and my grandma brought into the show.
Yeah, I've got friends that knit and I just don't understand it, but they make these amazing things. And I just think I would love to be able to do that. There's part of me that goes, oh, I want to learn that because I want to learn everything. And, I have another friend that upscales bags and coats and everything. And she does these amazing things. And I just think, wow, I wish I had that creativity. But I haven't. She has. So.
Well, you have creativity. It's just in some other area. Yeah. And I think oftentimes we limit our thinking of creativity into being things that are quote unquote artistic. And, you can be creative in science and math, in fitness, creativity expresses itself everywhere in our world. So.
Yeah, it does. That's true. I love to draw and I write a lot. That's my creativity. That's my outpourings. So.
Have you met Cacao, Lisa?
Do you know what? No, I haven't.
Let me tell you.
I never have. I've always meant to, but no.
I would encourage you. I also love writing. And for a long time, I was paralyzed in my writing. Talk about writer's block. I was just kind of like stuck, and adding cacao to my morning ritual. I email Julietta at 6:00 in the morning every day with a fresh batch of information. Some days it's a typing kind of a writing, but I really prefer the pen to paper. And just the flow is just so great. I mean, it really is so incredible with focus, creativity, energy. I'm telling everyone, I'm sure our listeners are like, okay already. But like, it's
enough
just,
about the cacao already.
but like, it's so good. Like, try it and then tell me you didn't like it. But just,
I will.
you know,
I will.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Thank
think
you.
you'll find your writing will be on hyper speed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
We actually had to take a break. We came up with too many ideas, and we're like, we need time to execute. I need to stop for 1 second.
We're planning this event for November 10th. And so if you're listening out there, head over to our website. You can find out more about it. But Graciela literally wrote, like, I think we have 2 events here, because we just had the cacao just brings so many ideas. And at some point you gotta like go, okay, that's enough for now. Let me handle this and then we'll get to the next. But
yeah, and actually what I did, just to be clear, I did not stop drinking cacao. I just refocused my cacao energy to a different project. So I was like, okay, I've created enough for right now. Let me now take this energy and put it into that execution. And I also picked up, I love reading. I picked up books that I haven't picked up in forever that I've been meaning to finish. And now I'm just relishing in them. Like, everything is just so much sweeter. But anyway, that's my cacao TED Talk for today.
I'll take that on board. I love to read as well. So time for that would be good.
Well, perfect timing. Can you give us a book to add to our goddess library? Give us an idea. What do you love? What would you like everyone to know about?
So I had a really hard time choosing books, because I've got a bookcase behind me of
we see
many different ones, and I love my books. And but the ones that have helped me on my journey massively, one of them is, I don't know if you can see it, Letting Go. Julietta's nodding, by David R. Hawkins, The Pathway of Surrender. It's a brilliant book on getting your head around emotions and knowing that what you feel about certain things. So one of my issues was anger for many, many years. And reading anger in this book just made me realize that it wasn't just me, and where it might come from, how I could help resolve it, and shame and fear. And then the good ones, peace, harmony, love. But it's such a brilliant book that I would recommend anyone who's struggling emotionally wise, and their vibration is low, and they've got some depression, or they're just naturally sad, or they're ashamed of anything, or living in anger. Get this book, because it is well worth realizing that you're not on your own, and there's something out there to help. One of the other ones, this helped my husband massively, Radical Remission. So it's stories, surviving cancer against all odds. And it's a brilliant, brilliant book on people's stories that have been diagnosed stage 4 and have been told, they haven't got long left to live at all, and they survived it. And that was a big, big Bible for my husband. And brilliant, brilliant book. And then if there's anyone else who I follow regularly, it's Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I love his books. I've got all his books. I've been to one of his weekend seminars, and I just think he's an amazing guy. What fires the brain, wires the brain. And it is so true on a emotional level, on a physical level, whatever it is, it wires us in. And if we can reconnect to that happy times, those moods, those emotions, then it helps lift us and keeps us in the right vibration.
Aren't you reading Dispenza right now, Graciela?
Yeah, I'm doing Becoming Supernatural.
Yeah, that one's on my share.
I know, mine's over there too. Tell me about the weekend. I'm kind of curious. Tell me about the live experience. What's that like?
It was amazing. It was Friday evening and Saturday and Sunday from, I think it was something like 8:30 in the morning till 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, with a couple of breaks and a lunch break. And he held an audience of 2,000 people. And, it was just, he can just talk and hold that space, and just, he gets everything, considering his background and his qualifications, he speaks layman's terms, so nobody there couldn't understand him. It was for everybody. And some people got up, they were able to walk after not being able to walk, and it was unbelievable. If ever you get to do anything with him, go and do it, because he's just this most amazing guy. And I came out of there going, oh, I need to be on stage, I need to talk, I need to do this, I need to do that. And yeah,
what I love is that he actually brings the science to, I call it bringing the science to the woo. I'm the person that doesn't need science, but I do get that so many people do need the science to embrace things that might seem unreal, because like a lot of the spiritual stuff, to actually, like, you can't touch it, you can't manipulate it, you can't, so how do you prove that it's real? And so that is my big appreciation for Joe Dispenza, is that he's created the connection between the science and the spiritual, so that people who need that can finally, like, they now have permission to tap into the spiritual stuff, because there's the proof that they need. And so for that, like, much gratitude to him. I can't believe I haven't been to one of his events yet, because he's here in Florida, a couple hours from us in Marco Island all the time. Like, Graciela, we got to sign up and go to the next one. Okay. Although you have to be like right on top of it, because his events sell out like pretty much like the day he announces the dates, they're sold out or whatever. So you have to really be on top of it. But super cool. So this time has flown by super fast, but I'm curious, Lisa, if there's one little parting nugget gift that you'd like to leave with our audience today.
I think it's, don't be afraid to explore. Don't hide in the shadows. I did it for many, many years, and over certain things I still do it. But when I realize that I'm doing it, I try and push myself out of it and find the help that I need not to be there. But if there's anything that's holding you back or keeping you in a low vibration, ask around, find help, see who is recommended, get the books, do whatever's needed, because you don't need to be there. Nice. That's it. You don't need to be there.
Beautiful. I always tell people, if it feels like it always has been this way, or quote, this is just how I am, those are red flags. Nothing is permanent. Nothing has to be the way that you think it does. You can absolutely create every minute of your reality. So thank you for that reminder to reach out. I think it's so important.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us today. It's so nice to see you again, even though I do hope one day we actually get to meet in person.
I think we will. Definitely. Yeah.
And we're definitely going to host a retreat on that side. So we'll see you for that for sure.
Yeah, you definitely would. Just let me know. I'll be there.
Oh, yeah. We have connections over there. Lisa can help us organize the.
Oh yeah,
we've been talking about heading over there already, so it's on the list. So
I know lots of places here where you could have it, which would be perfect, and I'm at your disposal. So yeah, just let me know. I'll be there.
Awesome. All right. Have a beautiful day, my friend.
Thank
and everyone
you.
out there, to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Have a magical, magical day.
Thank you.